Get out of here. I gotta pull up the file. They did to me. They did to me. When's your meeting? They had another one.
Mac, could you just make
I'm
sure?
already on it.
Oh, thanks.
It sounds working.
Okay, good.
Wait and see what it
Okay, we're on.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Sunshine Law. Notice of date, time, and place has been furnished to the record in Ridgewood News. Notice has also been posted on the bulletin board of the Administration Building. Will Clerk kindly take the roll?
Mayor Giordano.
Here.
Ms. Saracola.
Here.
Mr. Ritchie.
Here.
Mr. Schatz.
Here.
Mr. Shalero.
Here.
Mrs. Sherman.
Here.
Everyone kindly rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's have a moment of silence for all our wounded veterans and all veterans across our country who have given the ultimate sacrifice that we could assemble like we are today and remain free. Amen. Clerk, kindly do the prayer.
We thank you for everyone gathered here now. Thank you that you know each of us by name and have caused us to walk with you. We say that we are dependent on you and our trust is in you completely. As we surrender ourselves in adoration, we ask that you would come by your Holy Spirit and inspire our hearts today. Come fill our lives with your love, fill our conversations with your grace and truth, fill this meeting with your presence. We ask this for your glory and praise. Amen.
Amen.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out tonight for the first meeting for the new year. We had our reorg meeting last week, and this is our first regular meeting for the year. Under my report, it'll be very brief. First of all, I would like to thank the Environmental Committee for a great job that they did with the styrofoam this weekend. The dumpster was packed with styrofoam. I'd like to thank Ted, who was there, Mark Raimondo, Paul, all the people from the committee that took an active role, and also the people from Allendale. We merged with Allendale on this event, and it was very well received. They had quite a bit of people at their, from Allendale here in Waldwick helping out. We had people coming in from Hackensack bringing some styrofoam, and even further away. But it was a great day, and once again, the Environmental Committee did a great job. Also, that afternoon, I attended with some council people the Veterans Holiday Party at the VFW. Usually they do a Christmas party, but this year they did a New Year's party. And it was received by a lot of people, which was very good. And we talked a lot with a couple of the veterans, and what we're going to be doing is that, you know, I already said at the last meeting, we're going to be looking into next week. Kelly, I, and Tatiana will be working on putting banners up for the veterans if they want to purchase them for Memorial Day and leave it up for a couple of months afterwards. So that's something that we're working on. Also on Saturday, the Borough of Waldwick hosted the Northwest Bergen Mayors Association meeting here. 14 mayors assembled. We started our year off by selecting the months in which each town will have their meetings, and also this year there'll be agendas at each meeting, so we're bringing in guest speakers so that they could help us discuss problems that the county's having, problems that we're having as communities, and together each mayor will come up with ideas to help each other out. Also, that's all I have to report. Financial Administrative Committee, Mr. Shalero.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Perhaps we could discuss this under new business. One of the things Patrick and I have been talking about is our budget meeting schedule for the year. Our goal is to conclude our budget discussions in February so we could be on schedule to introduce in March and adopt in the April meeting. So what we're looking at is dates between February 6th and February 20th, and that'll allow us some leeway in case we have to have additional meetings. But you know, what we're going to propose is we could either meet on a couple of weeknights or on a Saturday or a couple of Saturdays. So we just want to get everyone's thought. It was in Patrick's memo this weekend. Hopefully everyone had a chance to look at it, and we'll see if we could pin down some dates for that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Fire and Police Protection Committee, Councilwoman Saracola.
Thank you, Mayor. So starting with the police department, at 7:38 a.m. on January 3rd, Waldwick Police responded to a report of a male party peering into a home on Wanamaker Ave. Officers responded and set up a perimeter. A police canine was requested and local schools were requested to shelter in place. The male party was located and apprehended a short time later after a brief foot pursuit by officers from Waldwick, Saddle River, Midland Park, and Wyckoff. The male party was identified as Justinian Rocco, age 26, whose last known address was in Allendale. He was wanted by New Jersey State Parole after absconding from a facility on December 29th. He's also a suspect in several area burglaries over the last several days and has been incarcerated for burglary in the past. He was transferred to the custody of NJ State Parole and remanded to the Bergen County Jail. He's facing charges out of Waldwick for CDS, resisting arrest, criminal trespassing, and receiving stolen property, and has pending charges in Allendale, Hohokus, and Saddle River for burglary. Responding officers from that morning were Detective Sergeant Dave Passeretti, Detective TJ Palea, Police Officer Chris Crone, Tom Zachman, Connor Walsh. Waldwick Police were assisted by Saddle River, Midland Park, Wyckoff, Allendale, and Hohokus. They would like to thank the area police departments for their assistance. Moving on to the fire department. For the month of December, the fire department responded to 19 calls for service, 2 of them being mutual aid calls for reported fires that turned out to be minor in nature. As far as drills, members attended the second night of bloodborne pathogens, and they had a hands-on review of how the department saws how to start, properly operate, and clean, as well as using them cutting. Members attended on a Saturday a lecture hosted by our Mutual Aid Association, focusing on the Black Sunday fires in New York City and the importance of self-rescue. Thank you.
Thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send a letter to Chief Messner thanking the officers that took care of that. When I write up the letter, I'll have you sign it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes, thank you. I met with 2 members of the ambulance corps, John Papendick and Lucas Nestoros, to learn about the corps and what their needs are and how I can assist them in my new role as their liaison. They were kind enough to show me the beautiful new ambulance that the corps members purchased. It is absolutely beautiful, and I congratulated them on their work in raising enough funds to purchase this vehicle that will not only serve residents, but potentially residents in other communities when our members go on mutual aid calls. In the month of December, they responded to 56 calls, which were covered by 17 members. I was given the 2022 annual report, and I would like to do a little recap of it and say I'm amazed that in 2022, 4 members went on over 100 calls. 1 member went on a record 225 calls. In total, there were 34 members who responded to 547 calls for assistance. While members of our community slept, celebrated, visited, vacationed, these members gave up their time for our community, so they should be commended. They never stopped even during COVID and continue to answer calls when other corps in surrounding towns shut down. They are true heroes. Waldwick Volunteer Ambulance Corps members were on standby, which means they wait at different events going on in the town, such as sporting events, parades, etc. They did that a total of 17 times in the year 2022. Members responded to 36 mutual aid calls in towns near us, including Allendale, Paramus, Saddle River, Franklin Lakes, Hackensack, Mahwah, Midland Park, Township of Washington, Upper Saddle River, and Wyckoff. They answered 67 calls to the Bristol here in town. They also had 1 medical transport, and all of these total up to 547 calls. Members have assisted people from all ages, of less than 1 to up to 120 years old. They have had calls for 85 falls, 78 breathing problems, 58 weakness, 35 altered mental status, 28 unconscious, 27 abdominal pain, 23 traumatic injury, 21 motor vehicle crashes, and 20 chest pains. They have never billed for emergency services and rely on donations to offer this service to our residents. They have made runs to Hackensack Meridian Health in Pascack Valley, Hackensack University Medical Center, Holy Name Hospital, New Bridge Medical Center, St. Joseph's Regional Medical Center, and the Valley Hospital. They also provide ambulatory items such as wheelchairs, crutches, walkers, and canes to our residents at no cost. I will be attending their general meeting in 2 weeks, where I will have the honor to meet more of their members, and I will have more to report on this amazing core group of people. One of the takeaways I left with is that we are blessed in our borough for these wonderful volunteers who are there for us in our time of need. I'm excited to be their liaison, and I thank you for the assignment. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Recreation and Health Committee, Mrs. Weber, she's not here tonight. She had a procedure done yesterday, and she wasn't unable to make it tonight. But I'm going to do a report for her. She's been working with our clerk, Kelly, setting up our 2023 concerts. So far, they booked 6 concerts, and they're aiming to do 2 more to make it 8 for the year. So she'll be working with Kelly with that, and also she'll be attending this month, the Health Department's meeting, since she is the liaison for that. Public Works Committee, Councilman Richard.
Thank you, Mayor. So the DPW's been obviously working to switch over from the leaf collection to snow removal. They were able to get 2 full rounds of leaf collection through all districts. Districts 1, 5, and 2 had the 3rd pickup. They had that snow storm in the middle, so they had to switch over from leaves to snow and then back to leaves, and they were able to get all of that done. But now they're making the full transition over to snow. In the meantime, also cleaning up parks. The weather's been good. We've been blessed with unseemingly warm weather over the last couple weeks, so they've been still cleaning up some of the parks, picking up garbage, some patchwork, things like that. The water department has been turning valves, kind of making assessments on what's needed for next year as well, and you saw there was a kind of a major water repair on Wyckoff Ave about a week ago. So they're just kind of, doing that, and they plan on doing some, preventative maintenance on trucks, probably starting around February. I'm not quite ready for that yet. I had a conversation with the superintendent, Mike Latour, last week on some budget items. He thanks us for the items that were put in the capital budget last year. They've been really helping. And obviously, we went through his wish list this year, which we'll have discussions on when we meet for the budget. I'll end with saying that for those of you who are putting Christmas trees out to the curb, please do so without lights or ornaments or the tree stands. Really, the trees just have to be bare, and I think that's going out in the email tomorrow or this week to it's on the website to remind residents to do that. And thank you. That's my report this evening, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Buildings and Grounds Committee, Councilman Schatz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no report on that yet. I have to be able to get with Patrick and working on the budget so much, so we'll get together and start talking about that once the budget's straight now. Also, I wanted to point out that I also attended the planning board meeting the other night, and they were swearing in everybody. There was no resolutions, no applications applied, and so I don't have any report on that, but we did do all the swearing in of the whole planning board. Also, I was happy to be at the Environmental Committee's styrofoam collection, which was a big success. Like you said, it was places from Hackensack, there's Englewood, there was, and all over town, Allendale, and especially Allendale, and a lot from Waldwick, but everybody seems to be very happy about bringing the stuff to us and filling it up. We filled up a 40-yard dumpster to the top, to the point where we had to close it and throw more over the top of it. So they'll be delivering that to get. We also collected a lot of plastic, believe it or not, and we've really been going crazy with the plastic and returning that for our benches. I do want to. I also attended. I didn't attend their environmental meeting yet, but we will. And I also want to congratulate Tommy, the mayor, on his appointment of the president of the mayor's committee this weekend. Very well, very well accepted. But I wanted to tell him congratulations for that. And otherwise, I think that's it.
Thank you very much. Department heads, Borough Administrator Patrick.
No report. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Borough Clerk Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor.
We have a resolution, 2023-52 on the agenda tonight, which is the approval of a person-to-person transfer of a liquor license from Alma to C-Dub, which is the Village Grill. All the paperwork has been received and reviewed and is complete, and it's the final document that I need to submit to ABC for this to happen is the approval of the resolution, so it's on for your consideration tonight. With regards to the calendars have been mailed to every home and business starting today. I would give it a little bit of time. If you didn't get it today, you'll get it tomorrow. If not, you'll get it definitely by Friday. A digital version has been available on the website for a week now. So if you need additional copies, you can go on the website and you can print them out. Dog licenses, we are licensing dogs. That's ongoing. They're due by March 31st. However, our late fee does not go into effect until March 1st. There are a lot of people who are caught in that odd time where they need to get their dog the rabies shot, or they can't be licensed. So there is a rabies clinic on February the 15th in Ho-Hocus at the Ho-Hocus School parking lot on 70 Lloyd Road from 6 to 7. That's also going to be in the email blast and is posted on the website. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Grant Administrator Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. On tonight's agenda, there are roughly 15 open-ended, non-fair and open contracts. When a vendor when the borough spends over $17,500 in a year span, they're required to get pay-to-play paperwork and have a resolution before any purchase. By doing an open-ended contract at the start of the year, it allows us to collect the paperwork once and then spend as we need. So when you see a contract for $40,000, that doesn't mean tonight we're spending $40,000. It just means throughout the year that we expect to overspend $17,500, and we've collected the necessary paperwork that the state requires. That's all from me.
Thank you. Our Attorney Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. No report this evening.
We're not going to close nothing?
No close.
Okay. Thank you. Consent resolutions and resolutions of the governing body.
Thank you, Mayor. Be it resolved that the following resolutions herewith listed by consent, having been considered by the governing body of the Borough of Waldeck, are hereby passed and approved. 2023-51, approval of consent. Policy vote A. Heather Maffey requests to use Pavilion A on June 24th from 2:30 p.m. to dusk for a graduation party with alcoholic beverages being served. 2023-52, approval of a person-to-person transfer of liquor license 026433-003-009 from Alma BNC LLC to C-Dub Investments, Inc. 2023-53, award a non-fair and open professional service contract for risk manager Frank Cavelli of Professional Insurance Associates. 2023-54, award a non-fair and open professional service contract for insurance advisor to Frank Cavelli of Professional Insurance Associates. 2023-55, approval of a transfer of junk title to All Points Automotive and Towing, Inc. 2023-56, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Home Hardware in amount not to exceed $43,500. 2023-57, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Cliffside Body Corporation in amount not to exceed $43,500. 2023-58, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Rio Supply in an amount not to exceed $40,000. 2023-59, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Precision Electric Motor Works, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $40,000. 2023-60, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with SMS Securities, Inc., LLC, in an amount not to exceed $40,000. 2023-61, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Agra Environmental and Lab Services in an amount not to exceed $40,000. 2023-62, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Miracle Chemical Company in an amount not to exceed $40,000. 2023-63, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Waldeck Auto Services in an amount not to exceed $40,000. 2023-64, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Capital Supply Construction in an amount not to exceed $40,000. 2023-65, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Top Notch Tree in an amount not to exceed $35,000. 2023-66, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with On-Site Fleet Services, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $35,000. 2023-67, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Capital Electric Contractors in an amount not to exceed $35,000. 2023-68, award non-fair and open-ended contract with Challenger Fence Company in an amount not to exceed $30,000. 2023-69, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Edmunds GovTech in an amount not to exceed $25,000. 2023-70, award a non-fair and open-ended contract Perennial Lawn Care in the amount not to exceed $25,000. 2023-71, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Neil Systems Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $25,000. 2023-72, award a non-fair and open-ended contract with Northeast Sweeper and Rentals, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $25,000. 2023-73, accept donation of gift cards. 2023-74, accept donation of anonymous cash gift to the Waldwick Police Department.
Do I have a motion and a second to accept? Second, a motion by Mike, second by Paul on the question. I guess you did it all, Matt. Thank you. If not, please, clerk, take the roll.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Abstain on 53 and 54, yes on everything else.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Okay. We have no public hearing. We have no introduction of ordinances. Anyone on the council have any unfinished business? Yes.
Yes. When you mentioned the concerts that were being booked, I received a telephone call about a month ago from a member of the Waldwick Band asking that they be considered once again this year for a concert. They were hoping to do it earlier in the season to get a larger turnout. And at the time, I was still on that committee, so I said we would definitely consider it. And I just would like to pass that information along to you, Kelly. Thank you.
What we'll do is we'll let Patrick take care of that because he dealt with them last year. Okay?
I was waiting for him to come back.
Yeah. Good. Anyone else? If not, any new business? We have two items. First is fees scheduled for use of all borough facilities. Patrick, I guess we'll start this.
Thank you, Mayor. As it is now, the borough only collects fees for use of the senior center at the second floor of the ambulance corps. We have a code that sets the rates for it as $150 for each usage. We do not collect a fee from not-for-profits or from members of the fire department or the ambulance corps. We are approached from time to time from commercial entities in the borough who are interested in reserving space, predominantly in Borough Park, but we also approve space in Veterans Park for sports teams, and we've been approached less frequently for people interested in reserving the senior center. So I wanted to take the opportunity to discuss kind of how we have fees and see if, or how we charge fees and see if there's a better way to do it. Right now, you know, the majority of reservations that we take in, and I'll ask the clerk to just chime in when she can, because while I kind of see it from the global end, and I handle some of the stickier issues where people are denied, she handles the gross majority of pavilion reservations and senior center reservations. So the majority of the groups that we have for pavilions are individuals, but we do also get corporate parties, and from time to time we'll get requests from, let's say, a yoga group or an exercise group to rent the pavilion. Right now, individual parties, be they corporate or, let's say for a birthday party, there's no fee for that. They submit a deposit to us as long as they leave the pavilion in a clean way, the same as they found it. That deposit is returned to them. There's no fee for use. For any commercial activity, that request comes before the mayor and council. And during the pandemic, the mayor and council had approved kind of a carte blanche, anybody can use it, because we understood that there were a lot of people impacted by the indoor restrictions. And so I'd say more, you know, still maybe just a handful, but more people had used it during the pandemic. Now coming out of that, we'd come back to the council with some requests, and we know we're going to get some more from commercial entities. They have to go before the council for approval, but there's no fee set up right now. So the question is, you know, especially for the pavilions, is there a way where we can set up a fee so that either the mayor and council would be more inclined, because they think it's more fair to approve those requests, and the borough can get some revenue to offset our costs for maintaining those. For the senior center, we have, the majority of that is by Italian Club, Golden Club, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. And they are not-for-profits and typically wouldn't be charged anyway. And there's, I don't think there's any, at least to my knowledge, there's no interest in charging them. And then lastly, we have the field at Veterans Park, which we have 2 soccer teams who use it. I'm not sure of their status, whether they're for-profit or not-for-profit, but right now they reserve it free of charge. Out of anything, that probably has the most required maintenance, because we mow, we stripe the field, we aerate it, we generally maintain it, and that's a big undertaking. So what I proposed and shared in my most recent memo, this is kind of a jumping off point of where we may start the discussion, and also I, for comparison purposes, included what the school district charges for their facilities. So proposed would be, right now our fee schedule applies just to the second floor of the ambulance building. We would change that for all borough facilities, and it would lay out a fee schedule where anytime something is reserved, if it is a half day, it would be for $200, for intermittent monthly use, $750, intermittent seasonal use for $1,500, and intermittent annual use for $3,000. This would be waived for Borough of Waldwick nonprofit organizations and for members of the Waldwick Fire Department and the ambulance corps, just like it is now. So in the senior center, nobody that's in there now would be charged. Depending on the status of those 2 soccer teams who use Veteran Field, they may or may not be charged. It's important to note that this would only apply to reservations. So people can go into Borough Park and use the park at large for commercial activity. You may see that with someone who's taking pictures of a family, and they say, well, Borough Park is beautiful, we're going to meet there, and I'm going to take your photos. And that's not uncommon, and I've done it myself at local parks. There are people who, maybe they're running exercise classes just through the park. For those types of things where they're not reserving space to the exclusion of others, there would be no formal process for approving or requiring a fee to be charged. And that's pretty much how it stands now, although there's no formal policy around it. So I think that covers it. Kelly, is there anything else you think that's left out that should be added before we start the discussion?
For the usage fee, we broke it down to half day, so that if somebody was going to book the pavilion for the whole day, then you'd multiply that by 2.
Yeah, and I think that especially applies for the pavilion, because in the summer months, there's such a demand for those weekend reservations. And Kelly does a good job of getting people to stay just in the morning or just in the afternoon, so we can book twice a day. And I'd say between Memorial Day and Labor Day, those pavilions, Saturday, Sunday, are reserved every day, morning and afternoon. So we wanted to set up a fee so that sometimes we do get people come in and say we need it for the whole day, and if it's available, we'll approve it. But if you're going to use it for a whole day, that's you would be charged 2 half-day fees.
So what you're saying is that all these people that you will be charging moving forward are people that are making money off of our product.
Yeah, some direct money where they're going to reserve a pavilion and they're going to perform a service there that they're generating direct revenue from. Or it could be, we have corporate parties who come and reserve the pavilion just to have their corporate summer parties, and those are all approved by the mayor and council if they're serving alcohol, and I know some have come before you. We don't charge them. So some may be an entity like that where they're not earning direct revenue from their operation in Borough Park, but they're a for-profit entity, and this is one of their functions.
Anyone have any questions? Tom?
Well, yeah, I guess I was kind of piggyback what the mayor asked is, would we be able to determine what's a commercial enterprise and whether it's a for-profit business? Strikers coming to do their summer barbecue. We've never charged them, but they're a corporate entity, and as you said, they're not deriving revenue, but is that considered commercial activity? So would we be able to define, you know, what's nonprofit versus for-profit? Like, for instance, in the instance of the soccer teams, how could a soccer team not be a nonprofit? You mean like if it's a club where?
Yeah, that's right. And if they're part of larger organizations that are for-profit, that could happen. So like my son, he has signed up for soccer practice with a for-profit entity. I mean, it's kind of it's a more national program that runs youth soccer training program. And Red Bull around here, yeah, that's right, they do, right? So Red Bull, not having seen a not-for-profit statement from them, but I wouldn't generally imagine that they are. I think how the borough would do that is we wouldn't require that you prove you're for-profit because we're going to charge you. We would require that you prove you're not-for-profit if we're not going to charge you. And they would need to show us documentation. Typically, it's from the IRS.
501c3.
That shows that they are a registered non. We would want to see proof of that, I think. And
It'd be a little broader than a C3. C3 would be a public check. So like a C4, which are,
But that would be, yeah, that would be our requirement. I would not limit it to just a checkoff box, because I'd hate to give people the opportunity just to check the box and come for free. I think if you're a not-for-profit, you are generally accustomed to providing your proof that you're a not-for-profit. I don't think that would be putting them out. No one's gonna come back to us and say, I can't find the paperwork, and it's overly burdensome.
So it's
My
not
opinion.
necessarily for residents.
No, I think that, you know, some of it depends how you, this is up for conversation. You could, as it's proposed, there would be a charge for residents, but I think it's a reasonable conversation to have as to, do you want to not charge residents, or do you want to charge residents a lower fee? As it's proposed is not because I think that the proposal is the greatest idea, but it's because I wanted to give you an idea of where to start, and I think it's reasonable, but not, you know, up for discussion.
I'd probably suggest that we, well, the parks, I don't think it's split up, but I think the parks, they don't take that much to clean up very much. But things like the field, you have to do maintenance, things like that. So I would probably suggest maybe, I mean, if they're not there, the field, they want to use the field, they might want to charge for those parks. I don't necessarily think that we charge the residents for it. I mean, we did have it before, I think we before had it. I think we did have a fee, where we had to have a resident sign up for this, didn't we? We used to have that, or is that still in the case?
You have to be a member of the borough.
So
Am I-
Yeah,
Not
but-
in my time,
but
not
you-
in the last 4 years.
you can't do that anymore
you can't.
because.
We used to, but we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
So-
yeah, they canceled that out. So.
Yeah, to where you could only be a member of the borough, but we are allowed to establish reasonable, a reasonable differentiation in rates. So we could charge, just to make it extreme, we could charge residents $500 and non-residents $300 or $350. We couldn't charge non-residents $1,000 and residents nothing, right? So the rule would be that you don't want it to be designed to be punitive or completely prohibitive of a non-resident reserve. But that there is an understanding that borough facilities are generally financed by the borough and at least at the start for the benefit of those.
Yes.
Thank you. I don't have a problem. I've been to Borough Park after a party, you know, a family had a party or something, and the trash cans are full, and, you know, perhaps the children used chalk. They painted the pavilion with chalk. You know, the animals start pulling the trash out of the bins. Our DPW have to go there and have a man clean up the trash, wash the building. I think our our manpower is used to clean up the party, which in turn causes the borough to have a cost involved in every single party that is held at the parks, due to us having to use our manpower to clean up after these parties. So I'm not opposed to our residents being charged to use the pavilion just for maintenance purposes, for the cleanup purposes. It could be minimal, but let's figure out what a DPW hourly fee is. The gentleman that's assigned to the parks, you know, if it takes them 2 hours, 3 hours to clean up after a party, maybe perhaps that should be the fee imposed on our residents. And of course, people from out of town, it would have to be a higher fee. That's my opinion.
And I think
So-
we can look at that. I think we should also consider just general wear and tear. Like, we
Yeah.
recently had to restain and seal all the wood on our pavilions. There's electricity costs that go along with them, tipping fees for garbage, you know, the general upkeep. Replacing the picnic tables that are in there, moving the picnic tables that are in there. But yeah, I mean, we can try to find, and I think $200 for a half day isn't far off. You know, I think we're close. Maybe that's not what you want. Maybe we want to make a different rate for residents and non-residents. But I think that's probably kind of where we are when you look at hourly and look at utilities and general upkeep.
Okay.
So I think I'm in favor of charging for the for-profits. I think we'll do fine. We'll more than make our money there, but not charging residents. I'm not in favor of that. And whatever we have to charge non-residents and to be able to get away with charging more than nothing, I'd be in favor for.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel uncomfortable charging the residents. I think, you know, they pay taxes, and I think that that should cover them using the parks and the pavilions. So I'm fine with charging corporations and for-profit entities. But I guess I have a question. So what if I, as a resident, wanted to come and have a party, but I was like making money off of that party? How would we not like be able to choose, like, or be able to tell if I was making money off of it?
Well, yeah, if the intent was that you were making money, so you would be charged a fee if we were to
Okay.
set up a fee. Now,
Okay.
enforcing that, you know, would be the harder part, but I don't think the part that we should be discouraged by. Yeah, and that already is in our code around the pavilions. If you, there's a specific note in there about having functions that are closed to the public where you're going to generate revenue. But who knows, I mean, maybe you're going to be open to the public to generate revenue. You know, maybe you're going to, you know, have a bunch of baked goods and you're going to reserve it and sell it that day or something, I don't know. So yeah, we would have to make some exception, but I think that that's fair.
If we had, like you were talking about the non-resident residents, we did
Paul,
talk-
can you talk into the microphone? They can't hear you.
if we talked, if they charge nothing for residents, we could still charge something like $100 for non-residents, right? You can't charge 1,000, but you can charge something reasonable. Is that what you're saying, right? That kind of thing.
It's a question for the attorney, but I think yes.
I think it would,
Yeah, it's got to be reasonable.
yeah, I think it would pass muster.
Just not, yeah, reasonable, not, okay. I'd be okay with that.
So I guess I'm getting a little confused now. We're talking about charging a fee for commercial activity and charging a different fee for non-resident commercial activity versus resident commercial activity? Or are we saying you don't want to charge residents whether it's commercial or non-commercial? I'm sorry, Pat, I'm
So,
asking.
I think, so everybody agrees charge residents, right? Or, I'm sorry, everybody agrees to charge commercial, and everybody agrees to not charge Waldwick-based nonprofits. We agree on that. So then the question becomes, a rate for non-resident individuals versus resident. Right, is that where is that okay? That's right. Did I get that all right? Yeah.
just want to make sure I
Yeah.
understood what.
Yeah, I was a
I
little.
didn't see a
Okay.
nod from Councilwoman Sherman. You want me to say it again?
No,
So-
are you, if a business in our borough wants to use Borough Park, do they have to pay?
Yes.
Okay.
As I understand the discussion, yes. If a resident in Waldwick wants to use it, there would be no fee per this discussion. And if a non-resident wanted to use it, there would be a fee.
I mean, since Don and I were on this council since 2005, this came up how many times?
Yeah.
And I always said, we have to give our residents a little something. And this is what, we always thought about. Am I right?
Yeah. But I also acknowledge we're getting more requests for commercial activity.
Right.
And we can't keep people out of our park, but we could manage its use and perhaps recover some of our costs for maintenance, upkeep,
Right.
and things like that. So, yeah, I'm okay with charging for commercial activity, and I'm okay with charging non-residents a higher fee.
I'll go back and rework these numbers a little bit. I think the only place that we would get individual requests would be, or requests from individuals would be for the pavilions and for the senior center. So we can set up a separate rate for those, and those would be just for a daily use. So we can set up, or a half-day use. So we can set up a half-day fee for residents and non-residents for $100 non-residents, free residents. Fair?
Then
Do we have a consensus on that?
can we look at the rules then for reserving those pavilions where the residents have to, or whoever it is, have to empty the garbage bins and put the things in the dumpster? It's creating,
So those rules are already there, and when you get your application, you are given those rules. And when you give the application back to me and you sign it, I hand that back to you and tell you that this is to remind you of what is expected.
I thought they were allowed to leave it in the trash cans.
They're not supposed to, but people do.
Mhm.
And then DPW goes between parties, so they don't get 2 hours, they get 30 minutes to empty and clean up anything that might be left, the chalk. Sometimes they don't have the time to clean the chalk, so they worry about the garbage and getting that out of there. So we have to rework some of that stuff, I think, as well.
And do we
It's
keep,
very
do we keep the
labor-intensive.
$100?
You mean
If there's
what
a
we do
problem.
now? If,
Yeah.
so we actually have, it's not often, and we have had some instances where people are using the confetti or different kind of snap pops, which are prohibited on the, you sign that you're not going to use them, and if you use them, then your deposit is forfeited. The problem is, there's no way to verify that they were the ones with the snap pops if there's two parties in there on the same day. Unless you get the DPW to then be on alert to just kind of, it's not going to, so it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. We'll go after somebody and they're like, look, I didn't have it. It wasn't me. And there's no way for us to kind of prove that. But the commercial activity has increased. And I think it's great. I think it's great people want to use our parks. Stryker happens to be one that comes. They're very, they're very good. They fill everything out. It's great, and they really enjoy coming. So it would be good to keep that kind of going. But yeah, we should kind of be compensated a little bit.
The only thing I don't know how everyone feels about this. I hate to be charging the soccer association or anything like that. They're the young kids, and
I think both of I think Waldwick Warriors and the Soccer Association, I think they both are 501(c)(3). I think they are.
Yeah, because even if they're not, we got to do a little something for them.
When I was coaching them, they were trying to steer towards that. I don't know if they did it after I left. I think they were close to doing it.
I do know that those groups have brought in or have done separately training with Red Bulls. And so there may be a portion of their activity that isn't a portion of their activity that isn't, and it'll be incumbent upon us to differentiate that and make sure we charge the fees appropriately. In the current ordinance, there is the note where the exception for payment, it says that the use fee and security deposit shall not be charged to nonprofit organizations based in the borough of Waldwick. I'm not sure the full implications of that. If you have a nonprofit organization that's national or from Allendale or Hohokus, how would we treat them? I don't know, because we haven't, at least I haven't run into that, but maybe it's something that we give thought to if we want to change that to just general nonprofits or.
Well, we have we have schools that come in,
Right.
so,
They're not
and
based
they're
in
not
Waldwick.
based in Waldwick.
So the
Um,
question would be, are they nonprofits that operate in Waldwick? Like if you have a nonprofit that's, has no ties to Waldwick and the sole reason they're coming here is for the pavilion, so those are one thing that I don't fully understand how that is applied currently, because we don't charge a fee, but, so I don't know the implications of that when we start to charge. But it's something that I'll give some more thought to, and if you would as well, and let me know what your thoughts, do we want to make that differentiation?
And they're all going to still have to show insurance.
Yes.
Yes, anybody making a reservation.
You'll get back to us
Do,
on-
we don't require it for individuals.
No, they sign the hold harmless.
That's right.
Yeah.
But for companies, that's right. Yeah, we make them show us proof of insurance.
Now, you want to get back to us on the,
Yeah, coming from, based on the conversation we had here, I'll draft a proposed ordinance change and share with the mayor and council this weekend.
anyone else have any questions about this? No? Okay, next item. Authorized application to 2023 DCA Local Recreation Improvement Grant. Is that you, Matt?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The Department of Community Affairs has allocated $25 million to be distributed to government agencies for recreational improvements. The Lions Park Playground has recently passed 30 years of use. While it's still in decent shape, still definitely usable and safe, it's coming towards the end of its lifespan. So similar to how Ted Bell Park was done in stages, this would be a good project to apply for funding for, up to $100,000. Doesn't mean we'll get $100,000, but I would be surprised if we don't get some award for it. This could be paired with Bergen County open space grants in future years to help fund it. This grant does not require a match, but in our application, I'll discuss how we will be most likely going for Bergen County open space and providing a match for that as well. And I spoke with Jim McGinnis. I was at the site with him yesterday, and Mike Latour. He estimates the cost would be similar to what Ted Bell Park cost, probably $400,000 to $500,000 for the full project. But again, this is in the early stages. It wouldn't be constructed for at least a year or two at the earliest, but it's definitely a good opportunity to apply for funding.
That's a good idea to do it. You really do need to have it updated.
Yeah, and since it is the Lions Playground, I just ask that we keep them in the loop on the
Yes.
plans, and, if they want to be involved, figure out what that would be, but also, but yeah, I recognize that, 30 years and it's wood,
Yeah.
it's inevitable.
Yep.
So great to start planning. Good idea.
Perfect, great. Anyone else have a question? New business?
So
Yes.
this is going to be Resolution 2023-75, which is to authorize the application to the 2023 DCA Local Recreation Improvement Grant, specifically for what Matt just talked about, the $100,000.
Would you like me to do a motion second, please?
Yes, please.
Do I have a motion? And a second. Motion by Don, second by Paul. Anyone have a question on this? If not, clerk, please take the roll.
Ms. Ericola?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Schatz?
Yes.
Mr. Shalero?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherman?
Yes.
Okay, any other new business? Sir?
Yeah, if we can talk about budget meeting dates. Just want to, again, clarify a little bit about what I was speaking with Patrick about. I kind of feel, for those of you that have been on council in prior years, we typically held our budget meetings following council meetings, which means we're starting our budget discussions anywhere between 8:30, 9, and 9:30. I kind of feel like we're going to need to devote a little more time to the review and discussion this year, and recommended that we have our budget meetings on a different night so we can devote the entire time to just the budget and not get a late start. Even during a normal budget year, When we start at 9 o'clock, we're here till past 11, 11:30 sometimes. And, I just think we're not as productive. So a couple things we talked about, Patrick and I, was, do we look at, and this is where we want to get people's, your input on preferences. If we were to plan 2 weeknights, we could do that. If you wanted to do it on 2 Saturdays, 4 hours each on a Saturday, or we could just devote a Saturday and say, as long as it takes. So, we just kind of wanted to see where your thoughts were, keeping in mind to stay on the time frame for introducing this, that this would have to be done sometime between February 6th, when the documents will be ready for us to start reviewing, and February 20th to meet the time frame for introduction in March.
What about the council meetings that we don't have? So we don't have one on the 7th, and we don't have one on the 21st. Would that be easy for everybody?
Yeah, I can't do the 7th. I can do the 21st.
I can't do the 21st. I won't be around for the whole week. I'll be gone.
Well, that one.
Can we do a Saturday? Can we do like February 11th?
I'd rather stay away from the weekends.
Yeah, Saturdays
personally.
are kind of,
I don't think I have one weeknight that I could do, besides a Friday night. I don't think anyone wants to do that. I have Sundays.
say that again?
I'll come here.
We went through this on Saturdays, this is kind of hard.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to work around everybody. How about a Friday?
Yeah, I can do Friday.
We could bring pizza and pizza night on Friday. Is Friday all right?
I'm gone from the 15th. I'm gone from the 15th to
No
the
Friday?
23rd. So
I'm good.
You want to do the
No,
10th?
no, you can't do Friday.
I could, but it's a weekend. I only have 2 days off.
All right.
I'd rather not.
We got a lot of different.
Why doesn't everybody just
Yes.
give their preference and then we can
Yeah,
figure it out?
that's a good idea. Why don't everybody give your preference to Kelly?
You volunteered?
We'll get, you don't have to worry about
So-
it.
Here, I'll volunteer. If you email me your availability, I'll put it into a spreadsheet and try to.
But, yeah, and you may as
Give us
well
the
do
most.
every night
Yeah.
between the 6th and the 20th,
And I'll
and
organize.
including the
Do you
20th.
want to do it like on our council night?
No.
So the risk, so council meeting nights in February are the 14th and 28th. And I just, it's really hard to know. I mean, this might go quicker than we anticipate. I just feel like it's risky to plan that because, by 11 o'clock last year, we really didn't want to look at any more spreadsheets. And I just don't know if we could spend 2 hours on a weeknight and get this done.
No, you're not going to be able to get it done, that's for sure. All right, let
Matt,
everybody send Mr. Matt
thank
our
you.
request.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, all good? Okay, anyone else have new business?
Yes.
Yes.
So I have a suggestion. I've been getting a lot of heat from residents about the new garbage pickup and the limited, I guess more of the rules that we have now. And I understand, obviously, being on council, the reasons that we put those rules into place and why we have less pickup, right? So are we able to put together something like a newsletter or something to send out to the town? Obviously, we put it out with the changes, but can we explain to them why we made these changes? Because I feel like there was a lot of work that went into it with the financial committee and a background to why we made the changes. Because I don't think anyone in town understands the pressure that we were under with this new contract.
Do you,
Go ahead.
Yeah,
You-
so
you-
we had put out a letter to everybody in the borough, mailed out. It was a 2-page front and back that the first paragraph explained as
the first
succinct-
half of page
the first half of
explained
page as
it
succinct
all.
as we could. Why? Now, that doesn't mean that
Yes.
we can't do it again. In our and we also included it in some e-blasts, right? We
It's
included the
in
same
every
information.
email blast since the meeting after Ted said, when are you going to put this out?
Yeah.
Which, so
We call it the Ted
that was
memo.
November.
Ted
Yeah.
memo.
Yeah.
That was November. It has been in there since November.
But if there,
It's on the website.
if the people you
They're
speak
calling.
to, if the people you speak to don't have this information, then we should discuss how to get it to them. Because I think I personally am proud of the changes we made because we did it for a good reason, and I think we had a good outcome from it. If residents aren't getting that information, we just need to figure out how better to get it to them. Because I agree, we don't want to have residents out there that don't understand why we made what are pretty impactful changes.
So I think you guys have done a nice job with this. And actually, some residents did remind me, I was thinking, oh, gosh, should we have sent out one more message? Like, I'm thinking New Year's Day. Should we have sent out one more message? And I was talking to a neighbor who said, oh, yeah, I read that in that letter we got.
Yes,
I
you
was,
did.
oh, yeah, we did do the letter, and we did the emails. But I think one of the things, because we're so close to this, is we read everything we get. So when we send out the email blast, people might focus on one item and not read the rest.
But we did the separate mailing.
We could put out a
I mean,
separate email
I-
/ Facebook post.
But I did that.
Yeah. Maybe
I mean, if you want to do
Please do it again.
another 4-pager out to
No,
the
no.
public,
Well, what's
then
your
we can do
experience?
that,
Kelly,
but-
what are the calls you're getting? I mean,
so the
this is-
calls are not as bad as they were last week. The biggest issue is the bulk, and it's not an issue. They call, there are 2 items, 1 or 2 items go on the list, and, it's not an issue for us. They want to continue to, clean out their houses. And it's, first of all, what happens is the trucks get filled a lot quicker. Then those trucks have to leave town and go all the way to Fairview to dump. And they often have to wait at Fairview to dump. Then they come back. So then the calls are, well, my stuff hasn't, my garbage or my whatever has not been picked up yet. Well, that's because the trucks are still in Fairview and they have to come back. And so sometimes your garbage isn't picked up till, 6:30. That's just the reality. That's the reality of it. Last week, I had people say, well, I have 7 people in my house and 2 cans is just definitely not enough. Well, 2 cans are definitely enough. 2 50-gallon, 50-pound containers are certainly enough if you're recycling properly. If you're throwing everything in your garbage, then no, it's not going to be enough. So I think we did put the things in place that I think they were smart moves, and I think that for the majority of the people, it's working out fine. For the people who are moving in and out of homes, they're not happy that they now have to get a dumpster. But we can't have all your stuff at the curb, and that's what people were doing, and it's not right.
If I could add one thing, and I think we on the dais know this, but just worth reiterating to the public, is that we understand that there are situations where on your first pickup of the week, you may have more trash than you are able to put out. And that's a function of you having, a party over the weekend or, whatever holiday was most recently. And we understood that there would be circumstances where you had to hold it to the second pickup. The reason why we did that was because our first pickup when we allowed everything, when we allowed 4 containers, was so heavy, and our second pickup was much lighter. And that imbalance, it was difficult to staff from our hauler, and that added a tremendous amount of cost to our contract. So we do get, and we were cognizant of the fact that, you might, if you're in that house and with 7 people and you have a big weekend, those 2 bags may have to stay in the garbage can until your second pickup of the week. And that's unfortunate, but it's the reality in order for us to save, 20% on our contract.
At our mayor's meeting on Saturday, that was a big discussion about garbage, about how the rates have gone up sky high, how each town is trying to help solve the problem. I think one of our meetings, we're bringing in some people to discuss this with us. Also, you got some towns that still have people, they have backyard pickup. So the haulers go in their backyard and bring it out. And Kelly was at the meeting, and everyone was complaining. And they're all trying to find ways in which to solve the problem. And Kelly discussed our plan, and she read what we sent out to everybody. And a lot of the whole group of mayors took what we're doing to look at it. So we are doing something right. And, we're not gonna make everybody happy, but the thing is, we're trying to make it less expensive for everybody.
I mean, but if,
I'm not opposed to our plan or what we did. I'm just trying to talk about getting out there the reason that we did it. And I understand that if it was in the paragraphs, they're not reading it. And it's not just my family, it's not just my friend's family, it's a lot of people. And I don't care if they're not happy about it necessarily. I'm just saying I want them to understand the numbers and why we had to make these changes, because I don't think anyone's reading it. So if we have to summarize it in like bullet points, or if we have to send out a separate thing that Don mentioned that's just a letter or one email, I think it's worth sending out, because we need to be transparent about why we're making the decisions, not just what they are and what they need to look out for their future.
Could you do that again? And again?
sure.
What about a nixle that has a link to where it is on the website, so that it's in their text message forever? Or did we already do that?
It does that.
I don't,
Well, then if that didn't work, how about skywriting? We could do that over the entire
Mike,
town.
that's not funny.
But
I'm
I mean,
saying-
you've done everything, Katie, it sounds
But
like. I mean,
it's
what do you
not
want?
explaining that they raised the price by X amount. That's what I want to put out there.
But it does say that.
In that letter with the paragraphs,
It does,
the specific amounts?
yes.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, it doesn't matter, I mean, if you want me to
Alright.
send out a 4-pager like we did during COVID, we can do that.
No, I think
not gonna read
less.
that.
No, I think less. It's really interesting. I'm not a marketing expert, but, how many times do you watch TV and you see a commercial, and then there's another commercial, and then they play the commercial you just saw again? Because people need redundancy. They need to absorb it a little at a time, and that's just the way it is. And, if we have to keep sending this out, for quite some more time, let's just keep doing it.
If we do
But-
it
Yeah,
right.
I'm not taking it out
Yeah.
anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah. But if there's something more you think we should do,
Okay.
if maybe we just send that blurb. I don't
Or
know.
it could be another outlet. I mean, we could go to, I'm happy to go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting or a senior meeting or, another meeting of an organization and just explain it to them if it helps them understand it. So if you have, if we think that it's predominantly seniors who have questions, I'll go to the senior group, or if we think
It's everybody. It's not,
yeah,
the
we can do-
calls are not as bad as they were last week.
yeah.
And I think Tatiana, who takes most of those calls, is doing a great job of explaining it.
I've heard it talk.
And people usually get off the phone and they're pretty happy. So I think that people are, it's not as bad as last week. This week is much better. And now that everybody's getting their calendar,
Oh, they're even
it'll
more
be
happy.
even better
I'm more happy.
Yeah,
because it's repeated
so
again.
if you have recommendations, I can certainly do more.
Anyone else? Yes.
Just a comment on this. It comes to a point where people have to take self-responsibility, and if people were that upset, I think our audience would be packed with people wondering what's going on. Like, we mailed a letter, Kelly has it on the website, the email blasts, like, I think you did a good job, so thank you.
No matter what we do, sometimes we're not gonna be able to please everybody.
No, but that's okay. I mean, we can certainly do
Yeah,
something
just,
else.
We'll do a little bit more. Anyone else up here? No- Nobody? Okay, we'll open up the public's comment. Anybody from the public would like to comment? Please come up. I know you're waiting out for the microphone, and state your name and address for the record.
Al Colden, Dante Place. Number one, I'd like to commend the ambulance corps for, acting so quickly and so great. Right around Thanksgiving, we had an emergency at my house, and they were there in no time. They took care of everything, and I'd like to commend them, personally at a meeting now. That's all. They really did a great job. No doubt about it. Number two, about just charging people for the park. Well, why can't we wait a while till this inflation flattens out a little bit or something? People are getting ripped off left and right, including me, including everyone here. Every single thing is rising. Pretty soon, the seniors are going to be homeless. pretty soon there's going to be no middle class because people can't afford some of these things. And everything just keeps piling on and piling on. You go for a bagel, it's 20 cents more now. Everything's going sky high. Why do we have to jump on this right now in the middle of everything when it's been going good for quite a few years now? 6 more months or maybe a year or so, maybe things will look better. But you're just adding on to what people are paying through the nose for now. It's just getting terrible. And I thought that the way the park was working, if someone from out of town wanted to use our park, they had to have someone from town sponsor them, and they had to put up so much money.
We used to have that done. We used to have to be, but we had to, you cannot do that anymore.
Why?
You want to discuss that? Why? You're the one that's involved with that. Well, first of all, before Patrick begins, I hate to interrupt. We are not charging our residents to use the park. We're charging people from other towns that want to come in and use our park. Our residents will, or
That's
business,
fine.
that's what we're doing.
I thought, first of all, again, 3 years up there, I hate to say who it is or whatever, sitting there, I can't hear a word you're saying up here because you're talking to one another. If you would all talk like Kelly talks, every single word I can hear, the people in the back can hear. But you got to speak into the microphones, and I notice a lot of you don't. You just talk to one another up there. We want to know what's going on here in the town. That's why we're here at the meetings. You know, I've said it quite a few times, I'm probably a pain in the ass, but it's true. People can't hear what you're just saying. Some of you are, you know, you do talk into it and you're excellent. But some of you just mumble. It sounds like a mumble to us. And I sit in the front row. I still got some pretty good hearing. But, you know, it's just something for you to think about. Both things. I had a third thing, but when you get old, sometimes you forget. I didn't see you all, but I want to wish you all a very, very happy new year and a better year than last year, whatever way it can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Janet Haskell, 98 Longview. Regarding the garbage situation, my husband and I, there's only 2 living in our house. We got a couple calls from neighbors, could they put a can at our house, because we only had one, and we said yes. So maybe you gotta ask your neighbors if you can put a can at their house. Just a suggestion.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ted Sanzo, 9 Kennedy. Presently, I live on Kennedy Drive, around the block, somebody's got their furniture lined up out at the street. So I'd appreciate it if people that have worked for the town in their responsibilities of going around the town would at least go, hello, please get your stuff off until pickup day, and please call, okay? Now, a suggestion, I happen to know the people that live in the house have kids that go to the school. So maybe you can get the information emanated out via the schools. Any way you can communicate to the people in town, there's no door closed. So if you can get the schools involved, maybe that's helpful there. But also, I think the town has a responsibility to go and, hello, please get your stuff off the street, okay? Yeah, I was the guy complaining about the leaves because I live on a small street. It's not 50-foot wide like Lindbergh Turnpike or Wyckoff Avenue or anything else like that. It's a disaster. We have to, you can't park two cars next to one another on both sides of the road. You'll never pass. Okay? That's why I'm complaining about the leaves, when the streets aren't wide enough. Second of all, the next meeting, I'm going to bring in a clear item that you would think was recycled. But when you look at it, and you look at it, and you look at it, you finally see the number 6, which means it goes in the garbage. However, I had an idea that I talked to the environmental committee about, and you were there, Paul. I said maybe the town council can suggest, not require, suggest via the Chamber of Commerce that they only have recyclable packaging or whatever. Because I can see, and it happened in my own home, oh, it's clear plastic, goes right into the recycle. And it happens at my home. I go through it, okay? Hey, everybody's thinking, and then starts to shortcut. You know, so if you have maybe, say, like a certification saying via the Chamber of Commerce or whatever that says this business in town is, how can I say, environmentally friendly, or has listened to the town, or some sort of honorary thing that you can give to the borough, to the business, that just says they are conscientious and they have taken a step to make sure that their packaging is all recyclable. But I don't have the correct words, like we had discussed at the committee meeting. You know, you've got 10 more brains up there that can look at this and say, this idea is good, that idea. Because I know in many, what is it, Proverbs, there's wisdom in many minds or something like that. And also, the 22nd is Chinese New Year. Enjoy that one.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I remember what I was going to say. Al Colden, Dante Place. You know, I'm no smarter than anyone else on my block. But somehow, paperwork that you did send, I sat down and I read it. And I had no problem with anything. I don't think people take the time to even read anymore. They're so wrapped up with the TV. You know, they should read things that come in the mail. I read it, and it worked out fine for me. I knew what night to put it out. I knew this, I knew that, because I read what you sent me. People don't read. My block, 2 weeks they had a refrigerator out. Across the street on pickup day, they had a sofa out. You know, I feel like walking up and down the street and telling these people how stupid they are. But you can't, I can't. But if they would just read the things that you sent them, and you can send them 50 things, they're not going to read them. They watch what the neighbor's doing, it takes them 3 or 4 weeks, and then they learn how to do it themselves. But it takes time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Don, second by Paul. All those in favor? All those. Thank you very much. Good night.